Before we got married, my adopted sister Sarah Miller hit my brother Ethan Miller with her car, leaving him in a vegetative state. But my fiancé, a lawyer, didn't blame her. Instead, he became her defense attorney. I caused a huge scene demanding she go to prison, but I only became the laughingstock of Rivertown. At my lowest, my rival, Robert Cooper, proposed to me, promising to be my only support. I accepted. Later, he personally sent Sarah Miller to prison. But 5 years into our marriage, I unexpectedly saw him talking with my brother, Ethan Miller, who was supposed to be in a vegetative state. Robert, if Sarah couldn't have children, you wouldn't have had to design this whole scheme to trick Maya Miller into marrying you and having a child for Sarah. It's fine. The marriage certificate with her is fake. Sarah and I are the real ones. When Maya Miller gives birth, I'll make sure the child calls Sarah mother. So, the happiness I thought I had was nothing but a deception from beginning to end. I sacrificed everything wanting justice for my brother, only for it to be wishful thinking in the end. The one who should leave is me. My hand froze in midair as I pushed open the hospital room door. A chill ran through me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Inside the hospital room, Robert Cooper looked at Sarah Miller's travel photos on his phone with a look of deep longing. Seeing her happy and well makes these 5 years I spent acting for Maya Miller worthwhile. Once the child in her belly is born, this fake marriage should end. My brother, Ethan Miller, lying in the hospital bed, snorted coldly, "Maya Miller really thinks you love her, and she even handed over the shares parents left her. But what if she finds out this was all our plan?" Robert Cooper paused for a moment, a cold light flashing in his eyes. "Then she'll never know. It's been 5 years, Sarah should be getting out of prison soon. Besides, plenty of women die during childbirth." Then Miller froze for a moment, then praised, "You're still the smart one, Robert." I curled my fingers, stumbling back, the pregnancy diagnosis report I had just received falling to the floor. Robert Cooper had clearly said he had sent Sarah Miller to prison. It was all fake. Ethan Miller's car accident was fake, and Sarah Miller causing the accident and breaking the law was also fake. It was all just so I could have a child for her, since she couldn't. And all of this was designed by the husband I loved so deeply. His tenderness, his loyalty, his focus solely on me, it was just a facade created for his true love. For 5 years, I had been living in the lies they spun. How laughable. Hearing footsteps inside the hospital room, Robert Cooper was getting up. I quickly turned, snatched up the diagnosis report, and stumbled downstairs. Tears streamed down my face as I ran. After getting away from the hospital, I squatted on the ground for a long time, unable to recover. I don't know how long it was before I put the pregnancy diagnosis report safely in my bag, called a cab, and went home. After telling the housekeeper to leave, I was alone in the house. Looking at the decorations we had personally arranged together, I let out a desolate laugh. Not long ago, Robert Cooper had gently held me and said, "Maya, let's have a child." My health wasn't good to begin with, but for his wish, I went everywhere seeking experts to improve my health. I drank natural supplements like water and didn't miss a single alternative therapy session. I finally got pregnant, only to discover the truth. I sat on the sofa until dark before hearing footsteps outside the door. The light turned on, and Robert Cooper walked in. Seeing me on the sofa, he embraced me tenderly. "Why didn't you turn on the light?" I shook my head, subtly avoiding him. "Just woke up, waiting for you to come home." Robert Cooper didn't suspect a thing and kissed my forehead. "Maya, you need to take good care of yourself, or I'll blame myself." His tone was as gentle as ever, but I felt no warmth inside, only that he was a truly skilled actor. Why could he go to such lengths for Sarah Miller, with someone he didn't love? I leaned against Robert Cooper's chest, and his casual words reached my ears. "Honey, Sarah Miller is getting out of prison soon. After all, you were sisters for over 10 years, and she's been punished. Why don't you just let it go? My eyes welled up, and I forced myself to say, you're right, we're sisters. I won't blame her anymore. Robert Cooper visibly relaxed, a smile in his eyes. I knew Maya was the kindest. I'll cook dinner for you myself tonight. Watching him walk into the kitchen, I turned my head to wipe away the tears. Just then, Robert Cooper's phone on the table pinged. I picked it up and tried to unlock it. The password was Sarah Miller's birthday. On his private social media account, the message was from one of Robert Cooper's friends. Robert, your sister-in-law is coming home tomorrow. The guys have prepared the gifts you wanted. The picture showed acres of rose fields he had booked and a new jewelry collection worth billions from a top auction. Scrolling up, I discovered every time Robert Cooper was on a business trip or working late before, he had actually gone abroad to be with Sarah Miller. His friends were in on it, covering for him. I clicked on Robert Cooper's social media feed, and all I saw were photos of Sarah Miller and him. Official marriage certificate announcements, travel pictures, kissing. The comments below were all from people we knew. Only I was set to private. My heart felt like it was being ripped apart. I dug my nails into my arm to stay calm. 5 years of marriage, and other than wedding photos, we didn't have a single picture together. I always thought Robert Cooper just didn't like taking photos. Turns out, it was just because the person in the photos was me. I laughed at myself mockingly and put the phone back. I don't want this marriage anymore. I don't want Robert Cooper or this so-called family. After dinner, I booked a flight abroad for 7 days later and scheduled an abortion procedure for the soonest possible date. 7 days would be enough for me to say goodbye to this marriage. While Robert Cooper was showering, I found the marriage certificate. Looking at the bright red cover, with the official town hall seal inside, anyone would think it was real. My eyes grew moist. Just as I was about to put it away, Robert Cooper's puzzled voice came from behind me. Maya, what are you doing with the marriage certificate? I calmly put it down and smiled. It was a little dusty. I took it out to wipe it. Robert Cooper saw my red-rimmed eyes and looked flustered. He walked over, took the marriage certificate, put it in the cabinet, and held me. You should leave these things to the housekeeper. I didn't say anything. Robert Cooper was about to get closer when his phone suddenly rang. Honey, I have to handle something for the company. You go to bed after you shower. With that, he took his phone and went to the study. After showering, I was drying my hair and passed by the study door. I heard Robert Cooper's gentle cooing voice. Sarah, you'll be in Rivertown tomorrow. Your husband has a big gift for you. Sarah Miller replied softly, Really? Thank you, honey. What about Maya? I felt Robert Cooper's mood instantly darken. He said coldly, You are my wife. Maya Miller is nothing but a tool to bear children for you. My heart turned completely cold. Sarah Miller chuckled twice on the phone and chided, Don't say that about Maya. Robert Cooper's voice was so soft it could drip with sweetness. Sarah, you're too kind. I didn't want to listen anymore and forced myself to return to the room, suppressing the bitterness. When Robert Cooper came back, he saw I was already lying down. He didn't disturb me, got into bed, and gently held me as he fell asleep. But I didn't sleep all night. The next morning, Robert Cooper held me tightly, reluctant to let go. Honey, the company is very busy today. I won't be able to come home to be with you tonight. I'll make it up to you later. I smiled. It's okay. He planned it perfectly to keep me from finding out about Sarah Miller. But I wasn't going to continue this 5-year charade any longer. Besides, Robert Cooper actually intended to kill me during childbirth. After he left, I took the marriage certificate and went out. When I arrived at town hall, I handed the marriage certificate to the staff. Could you tell me if there's anything wrong with this marriage certificate? The person frowned, looking at me with a complicated expression. Ms. Miller, this official seal is fake. Therefore, your marriage certificate has no legal effect. Even though I knew the outcome, I couldn't help but feel heartbroken. But at least this way, I didn't need to go through a divorce. Afterwards, I went to the USCIS, applied for immigration, and canceled my identity documents. Ms. Miller, this way, you won't be traceable anymore. I shook my head. That's okay. After I had finished everything, I suddenly remembered that Robert Cooper was supposed to have a welcome party for Sarah Miller today. I followed the address I had seen yesterday and found the flower field. As soon as I arrived, I saw Robert Cooper kissing Sarah Miller, surrounded by people. The crowd included not only his friends but also company employees. So this is Mrs. Cooper. She's really beautiful and has such a good. No wonder Mr. Cooper is so smitten. Did you see the necklace around her neck? It's one of a kind in the world. I personally saw Mr. Cooper picking it out before. I heard Mr. Cooper and his wife were childhood friends. Such love is truly enviable. Some people questioned. But I've seen Mrs. Cooper before, and she doesn't look like this? Heh. I heard someone say long ago that this is the wife's sister, who's supposedly been relentlessly pursuing Mr. Cooper. I found it ridiculous. Married for 5 years, yet in other people's eyes, no one knew I was Robert Cooper's wife. Just as I was about to leave, I suddenly heard Ethan Miller's voice. Maya, you're finally back. I missed you so much. You don't know how disgusting I felt facing Maya Miller every day. Suddenly, my nose inexplicably stung. 5 years ago, I turned against Sarah Miller and my ex-fiancé to get justice for him, becoming the laughingstock of all Rivertown. But in the end, he treated me like an outsider. In the flower field, Ethan Miller was acting spoiled towards Sarah Miller. I walked closer, came forward under the astonished gaze of the crowd, and suppressed my grievance to ask, Ethan, why are you here? Instantly, there was silence. Robert Cooper's eyes flashed with shock. Ethan Miller was even more flustered, unable to say anything. Recovering, Robert Cooper quickly asked, Maya? Why are you here? Don't misunderstand, Sarah just got out today, and Ethan woke up, so we were just having a welcome party. The surrounding people were dispersed. After all, for 5 years, Robert Cooper had been worried about others knowing Sarah Miller had been in prison, so he told everyone she was abroad. I smiled. Well, that's wonderful news. Maya, it's been a while. I was being childish before, Sarah Miller said tearfully, looking heartbroken. She was wearing a couture gown and had exquisite makeup. She didn't look like she had been to prison at all. Ethan Miller immediately shielded her, looking at me warily. Don't target Sarah. I don't blame her for what happened back then. What right do you have to decide for me? Looking at his anxious appearance, I couldn't help but laugh. Sarah Miller was always good at making herself seem like the wronged party. After being adopted by parents when she was little, she would accuse me like this at home. After growing up, she would maneuver among the people around me, making everyone think I was bullying her. I took a deep breath and replied calmly, I just heard there was something lively happening here today. I didn't expect it to be you all. Since it's a welcome party, I won't disturb you. I turned to leave. Robert Cooper thought I was throwing a tantrum and rushed up to grab me. Maya, don't be angry. I was just worried about Sarah being wronged as a girl in prison. It's been 5 years, and Ethan is fine, isn't he? You should let it go too. Robert Cooper's self-deceiving justifications just made me feel like he was being fake. He'd lied so much, he really had gotten trapped in it himself. Who was he putting on this act for now? I'm not angry. I said it's in the past, and I won't dwell on it anymore. I thoughtfully straightened Robert Cooper's tie. Go on, I'm going home now. Robert Cooper hugged me, secretly relieved. I knew my wife was the most thoughtful. You go rest well. He instructed the driver to take me home and specifically said he would come back to be with me tonight before he left. I just nodded and said okay. After getting home, I packed up all the couple's items in the house and threw mine into the trash can. Then I took down the wedding photos, cut out myself and Robert Cooper, and burned the photos. I took out my suitcase, waiting for the immigration application to be approved so I could leave Rivertown forever. That night, until midnight, Robert Cooper broke his promise again. I had expected it and didn't feel much emotion. The next morning, the OB/GYN department reminded me to go for my appointment. I went to the hospital and got straight to the point. I want an abortion procedure. The doctor looked at my report and frowned slightly. This child wasn't easy to conceive. If you terminate it, your chances of getting pregnant again might be very low. You should discuss it with the child's father. I remembered seeing Sarah Miller's social media posts on the way to the hospital. They were from a hotel. One was of a candlelight dinner for two last night, and another was a photo of intertwined hands on a hotel bed. Even though the man's face wasn't visible, the wedding ring on his right hand clearly belonged to Robert Cooper. I came back to my senses and gave the doctor a bitter smile. No need. The child's father is dead. The procedure was over quickly. As I left the hospital, I felt a dull ache in my abdomen and an indescribable bitterness in my heart. This was the child I had longed for, but now he shouldn't be born. I also couldn't accept that the child I had risked my life to give birth to would call Sarah Miller mother. On the way home, Robert Cooper called me. Maya, where are you? There's a charity gala tonight. Remember to attend. I agreed. When I got home, Robert Cooper's assistant delivered an evening gown for the event. When I opened it, it was a new designer gown with scattered crystals. It didn't fit well when I tried it on. It wasn't my size. That evening, when I arrived at the ballroom, the event had already started. The crowd was bustling and lively. Ethan Miller had just finished speaking on stage. He had decided to give Sarah Miller the shares that should have belonged to me according to our parents' will. And everything I had given Robert Cooper after our marriage, he had also transferred to Sarah Miller. Everyone envied her, thinking Sarah Miller had a good brother and a good childhood friend. When I walked into the ballroom, it instantly went silent. Everyone present knew that I was the true heiress of the Miller family and Robert Cooper's wife. Mocking, sarcastic, and speculative gazes were fixed on me. Ethan Miller's face stiffened, but after waking up, he had taken over the company's business and developed an arrogance. Maya, don't blame me for giving the shares to Sarah. She's also part of the Miller family and should have shares. Robert Cooper left the conversation he was having and pulled me aside. Maya, Sarah has suffered these past 5 years. Too. Think of it as compensation. Suffered? I scoffed internally. They knew better than anyone whether she had truly suffered. Sarah Miller stepped forward and linked arms with me, saying to the two men, "Oh, let Maya and I talk. It's been 5 years since we've seen each other." She led me to the pool area behind the ballroom. With Robert Cooper and Ethan Miller gone, Sarah Miller dropped the act. Her face was full of malice as she looked at me venomously. Maya Miller, it's been 5 years, and you're still a failure. Sarah Miller tugged at the gown I was wearing, sneering, wearing my cast-offs. You really are a failure as Mrs. Cooper. Let me tell you the truth. I've been abroad for the past 5 years. Robert and Ethan Miller have never mistreated me. All I had to say was I didn't want kids, and Robert married you. Maya Miller, you're living a joke. The anger and grievance accumulated over many days erupted instantly. I raised my hand and slapped Sarah Miller hard across the face, leaving a bright red mark. Sarah Miller just sneered. Want to know who they'll choose? Maya Miller, I'll make you see clearly today. The next second, she stepped back 2 paces and fell directly into the pool. A scream rang out. Help! Someone's fallen in. Robert Cooper rushed over, jumped into the water, and pulled Sarah Miller out. Sarah Miller, her eyes red, spoke tearfully and aggrievedly, Robert, don't blame Maya. It's my fault for being here. I should just leave. Robert Cooper's anger surged. He glared at me fiercely. Maya Miller, how could you be so vicious? Sarah was trying to mend things with you, and you dare to push her into the water? Ethan Miller rushed forward and shoved me hard, looking at me like an enemy. You yourself said you wouldn't hold a grudge against Sarah anymore. Why would you still do this? I don't have a vicious sister like you. I clenched my fists and looked at them coldly. Me, vicious? Robert Cooper, Ethan Miller, do you really you had what happened 5 years ago so well? The two of them froze. At that moment, Sarah Miller quickly grabbed Robert Cooper. Robert, don't let this ruin your relationship. I can leave on my own. Since Maya still dislikes me so much, I won't stay here and be an eyesore. The panic in Robert Cooper's eyes vanished instantly. He clenched his teeth and looked at me. Maya Miller, you'd better apologize to Sarah, or we're finished. With that, he held Sarah Miller and left. Ethan Miller stared at me, his eyes filled with disappointment. Apologize, and you'll still be my sister. Looking at the 3 figures walking away, my heart ached, bleeding. My phone rang. It was a message from the USCIS. My immigration application was approved. I could finally leave these people behind. From now on, we would have nothing to do with each other. I went home and packed my belongings, leaving the certificate proving the marriage certificate was fake and the abortion notification on the table. Then I took my suitcase to the airport. Before boarding, Robert Cooper sent me a message. Maya, Sarah just got out of prison. I need to comfort her. As her sister, don't hold a grudge. Come apologize, and this will be over. As compensation, your husband will get you a gift. Stop making a scene. I scoffed. Sarah Miller was back, and he was still putting on this act of devotion? I replied, Robert Cooper, I've played this 5-year game of pretending you love me long enough. We're done. After sending it, I deleted all their contact information and turned off my phone. After boarding the plane, I looked at Rivertown receding in the distance. Goodbye, Robert Cooper, Ethan Miller. On the way to the hospital with Sarah Miller, Robert Cooper realized his attitude at the gala was wrong. After all, he couldn't expose himself in front of Maya Miller yet. So he had his assistant buy a gift and send it over. But soon after, the assistant called. Mr. Cooper, there's no one at home. Mrs. Coo. Poor. I don't know where she went. Robert Cooper's heart tightened. But since Sarah Miller was present, he could only send Maya Miller a message. Maya, Sarah just got out of prison. I need to comfort her. As her sister, don't hold a grudge. Come apologize, and this will be over. As compensation, your husband will get you a gift. Stop making a scene. But the next second, Robert Cooper saw the message Maya Miller had sent. He froze. It took him a while to regain his senses. What deep longing game? When did she find out? Ethan Miller, seeing Robert Cooper's strange behavior, couldn't help but ask, Robert, is there more? He glanced at the screen and also froze. Ethan Miller was sweating profusely, his voice starting to tremble. He looked at Sarah Miller on the bed and said softly to Robert Cooper, Robert, what's going on? When did Maya Miller find out? She couldn't possibly know what happened 5 years ago, could she? What about your marriage certificate with Sarah? What do we do? She hasn't gotten pregnant yet. We can't let Sarah have the baby, can we? Besides, if she exposes everything, the Cooper family and Miller Corp's reputations will definitely plummet. Robert Cooper frowned. Impossible. I hid these things perfectly. Maya Miller couldn't possibly know. On the hospital bed, a hint of ruthlessness and triumph flashed in Sarah Miller's eyes. Seeing the two men looking worried, she feigned concern and said, "What's wrong? Did something happen to Maya? You should go check on her quickly." "I'm fine here." Her eyes were red, and her fragile appearance was heartbreaking. Robert Cooper hesitated for a while before saying hesitantly, "Sarah, I can't stay with you for now. Maya might have found something out. I need to go back and check right away." Sarah Miller secretly clenched her fists. But she smiled lightly and sighed, "Robert, Maya has always been this way. If she gets angry, she'll say things to threaten people. She's probably still upset about what happened at the gala. If you're worried, you can go check on her, but don't let it interfere with work. I'm sure Maya will understand." Hearing this, Robert Cooper's worry lessened considerably. He was about to leave, but Sarah Miller suddenly covered her mouth and coughed violently, her face turning pale. Ethan Miller anxiously patted her back. "Robert, Sarah is not well right now. Let's stay and take care of her first. Maya Miller can't go anywhere. What can a woman with no money and no status do without you?" Robert Cooper pursed his lips and stayed. Soon after, Sarah Miller recovered as if nothing had happened. She leaned against Robert Cooper and kept recounting past events. "It was all about how I used to look down on her as an adopted daughter when she was in the Miller family, or how I bullied her and targeted her over trivial matters." Piece by piece, it reached Robert Cooper's ears. He no longer stood unconditionally by Sarah Miller's side as he used to, but frowned. "Sarah, did these things really happen?" Sarah Miller's talking mouth suddenly stopped. Her words were stuck in her throat. After a while, she forced out a sentence, "Rob, are you saying I lied about Maya Miller?" Robert Cooper's face turned cold. He released Sarah Miller. "I lived with Maya Miller for 5 years. She's not that kind of person. Don't talk about this anymore." Suddenly, Sarah Miller's face turned pale, and her eyes gradually turned red. Ethan Miller, seeing her like this, also became anxious. "Robert, how could you scold Sarah? Maya Miller used to bully her." Before he could finish, Robert Cooper interrupted him coldly. "Did you see it with your own eyes?" Ethan Miller was stunned. He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything to defend her. It seemed he had never witnessed it himself. Sarah Miller had only told him. Perhaps he hadn't believed it at first, but after hearing it so many times, he gradually wavered. Compared to Sarah Miller, Maya Miller was indeed more aloof and more easily misunderstood as cold. Sarah Miller felt a little flustered. She stumbled out of the hospital bed. The 4-needle on her hand came loose, and blood flowed back. She anxiously apologized to Robert Cooper, grabbing him tearfully. "Robert, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie about Maya. She's a good person. I was just afraid that because of me, you two would misunderstand each other. But the person you're truly married to is me, yet I can't be openly with you. I just feel a sense of loss inside. It's all my fault. If I hadn't been infertile, you wouldn't have had to make yourselves miserable for me for these 5 years." This 5-year game of pretending to be in love, every time it was mentioned, it reminded Robert Cooper of that text message. His heart felt as if it had been fiercely stabbed. 5 years ago, my fiancé publicly canceled our engagement at the engagement party. By then, they had already planned with Sarah Miller to stage a scenario where Ethan Miller became a vegetative state. And Robert Cooper would then play the hero, stepping in when I was most helpless and isolated. He remembered the first time I looked lost and bewildered at the wedding. His heart unexpectedly ached. For the first time, Robert Cooper felt impatience and disgust towards Sarah Miller. It was as if he had never truly seen this woman. "All right, let's not talk about the past anymore. I'm leaving now. Let Ethan take care of you." With that, Robert Cooper left without looking back, despite Sarah Miller's attempts to keep him. Ethan Miller looked at the dazed Sarah Miller, unable to offer any words of comfort. As soon as Robert Cooper left the hospital, his assistant called. "Mr. Cooper, I just checked. Not long ago, Mrs. Cooper went to town hall and also inquired about the events from 5 years ago. She might have really found something out. You should go home and check quickly." Robert Cooper's breathing hitched. When? Just 3 days ago. Suddenly, Robert Cooper remembered something. He immediately got in his car and floored the accelerator, rushing home. On the way, he kept calling me, but the only response was a cold automated voice. "Sorry, the user you dialed is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later." Robert Cooper sent me messages too, but only received a red exclamation mark. He had never encountered such a situation. After all, in 5 years of marriage, we rarely even argued, let alone being almost completely out of contact like this. Robert Cooper felt a panic he had never experienced before. And he had no idea how to comfort me. Whenever there was a conflict, I would suppress it and pretend nothing happened. When Robert Cooper arrived home, he found the house empty. He rushed into the bedroom first. "Maya?" But there was no reply. Only then did he realize many things were missing from the house. My makeup was gone from the vanity table, and my clothes were gone from the closet. He frantically searched every corner of the house, but there was no sign of me. Only on the coffee table in the living room were the abortion notification and that fake marriage certificate. When Robert Cooper saw these 2 items, his mind went blank. A note was placed on top of the marriage certificate. "Robert Cooper, I'm done playing this game you've been playing for 5 years. Since the marriage certificate is fake, I suppose we don't need to get a divorce either." He saw the abortion notification, which clearly stated the child was 2 months old. These 2 items instantly stung his eyes. He gripped the 2 pieces of paper tightly and slowly slid to the floor. Memories of the past 5 years flashed in his mind, slowly breaking down Robert Cooper's composure. He trembled as he repeatedly dialed my number and tried to add my contact information, but it was useless. At this moment, Robert Cooper finally understood. I had known that the marriage certificate was fake all along, which was why I took it out that day. I had known what would happen if I had this child, so I aborted it without hesitation. I had even known about his relationship with Sarah Miller for a long time. After a long time, until the sky outside turned dark, Robert Cooper slowly regained his senses. He called his assistant. "Find her for me. No matter what, no matter the cost, you have to find Maya Miller." Not long after, Ethan Miller also learned that I had left. He rushed to the company to find Robert Cooper. "You're saying she's found out about us? What do we do? What about Sarah? She's gone. What about Miller Corporation? Do I have to handle everything myself?" Robert Cooper sat in his chair, his eyes dark with exhaustion. "I'll find her soon. Even if she doesn't forgive me, even if she sues me and ruins my reputation, it doesn't matter." Ethan Miller stared at him in disbelief. In his opinion, Robert Cooper's feelings for Sarah Miller were extraordinary. After a long silence, he said, "Then what about Sarah? Since you chose to commit marriage fraud with Maya Miller in the first place, now that she's gone, this is the best outcome. I can handle the company myself. Don't look for her." Robert Cooper's face was pale, and his fists were clenched so tightly that his knuckles were white. "This is my fault. Sarah and Maya are both innocent. But I will divorce Sarah. Let's just pretend none of this happened. Ethan Miller's breathing almost stopped. He was about to argue, but Robert Cooper said coldly, "Ethan, Maya is your real sister." Suddenly, these words left Ethan Miller speechless. His face was pale, and he sat on the sofa without saying a word. Robert Cooper opened his chat with me. Scrolling up, the more he scrolled, the more his heart ached. "Are you coming home for dinner tonight? I made your favorite dishes. It's getting cold. I made you some porridge and sent someone to deliver it. Are you coming home early tonight? I have a surprise for you." Robert Cooper stared at this message for a long time. Tea was sent about a week ago. He realized it was probably when I wanted to tell him about the child. With every thought, Robert Cooper's heart felt like it was being sliced by a knife. His nose stung, and tears fell uncontrollably. He tried to wipe them away, but more tears flowed. After the tears ran dry, Robert Cooper finally looked up at the assistant who had just entered. "Go check where the abortion procedure was performed. Also, search the entire city for Maya Miller's whereabouts." Meanwhile, I had already arrived abroad. It was late at night when I arrived, and the temperature was very low. I returned to the apartment I had rented in advance and finished unpacking. Everything felt surreal. But from now on, I would have nothing to do with the people back home. However, news about the Cooper Group always seemed to reach me, no matter where I was. This past month, Robert Cooper and Miller Corporation had been having problems. Someone had exposed the news of Robert Cooper's marriage to Sarah Miller. At the gala, he had talked about giving Sarah Miller shares, but he had gone back on his word and refused. Even if Miller Corporation and the Cooper family were on good terms, who would refuse such a large profit? So Ethan Miller hired online trolls to spread rumors online saying that the Cooper Group was dishonest. The comment section was filled with. Even worse, it was revealed that despite being married for 5 years, Robert Cooper had been entangled with me. As a result, the Cooper Group was pushed into the spotlight. Many partners terminated their contracts, even paying breach penalties, and stopped cooperating with the Cooper Group. Suppliers who didn't receive deliveries sued the Cooper Group, demanding an explanation from Robert Cooper. I watched the news, becoming more and more confused. Robert Cooper had made a big show of transferring shares to Sarah Miller and building momentum. What was he doing now, putting on this act? I had already left. Shouldn't he and Sarah Miller be celebrating and acting more freely? For 5 years, Sarah Miller hadn't returned home to avoid letting me discover their deception. Now that there was nothing to worry about, what were the Miller family and Cooper family doing by not celebrating Sarah Miller and causing all this trouble? Before I could figure it out, an anonymous call came in. I instinctively answered. "Maya." A familiar voice sounded, and I was startled. I quickly hung up and set my phone to block all calls and texts from home. Robert Cooper couldn't call or text me, but he kept trying to find other ways. I felt annoyed and simply turned off both my phone and computer. Back home, Robert Cooper looked at the messages that went unanswered. Despair washed over him, threatening to consume him. The assistant stood by anxiously. "Mr. Cooper, you should handle the company's affairs first. If this continues, the company will be ruined. Where is the person I asked you to find?" Robert Cooper frowned and questioned coldly. The assistant replied helplessly, "We've searched all of Rivertown. There's no news of Mrs. Cooper." Robert Cooper slammed his fist on the table. He immediately got up and went to the police station to file a report. But the police looked at the system's prompt and frowned. "Sir, are you looking for the wrong person? This Ms. Miller's identity information was canceled a long time ago." Robert Cooper's breathing suddenly stopped. In an instant, he remembered the call he had received that day. He immediately found the number and took the police to the place where I had canceled my identity documents. The staff quickly found my new documents and said I had emigrated abroad. Robert Cooper was overjoyed and immediately told his assistant to find my flight information. He bought a ticket to the same destination. On the other side, Sarah Miller had not heard from Robert Cooper. She had already had Ethan Miller extensively publish negative public opinion about the Cooper Gr. Oop. Why hadn't Robert Cooper come yet? She simply called him directly. As soon as he answered, Robert Cooper's annoyed voice came through. What is it? Sarah Miller froze, gritting her teeth, and pretended to choke back tears. Robert, I missed you. I have a cold lately, and Ethan isn't here to take care of me. I was hoping you could come keep me company. Robert Cooper's voice was icy. I'm very busy. I don't have time. Sarah Miller was stunned for a moment, then used her old trick. Rob, did you find Maya? Is she still angry? Maybe I should apologize to her. Ha, Sarah Miller, haven't you caused enough trouble? What are you still pretending about? Robert Cooper finally exploded, asking viciously, do you really think I didn't find out what happened at the gala? Maya has never said a bad word about you in front of me these past few years. But you, on the other hand, Sarah Miller, when you lie too much, you'll even deceive yourself. I advise you to quickly handle the public opinion online. I've already entrusted a lawyer with the divorce agreement for you. With that, Robert Cooper hung up the phone. He got on the plane to find me. That day, I was just about to go out to buy groceries when I saw Robert Cooper. He seemed to have waited all night. Seeing me, his eyes lit up. Maya! I finally found you. Robert Cooper rushed over and grabbed my wrist. Don't go. Let me explain properly. I'm sorry for what I did these 5 years. I've just realized that the person I truly love is you. I felt disgusted and threw his hand away. Explain? What is there left to say between us? Are you going to say that using a fake marriage certificate to commit marriage fraud wasn't your plan? That staging the whole vegetative state act with Ethan Miller wasn't your idea? Or that planning to have me give birth for Sarah Miller and find a chance for me to die in childbirth wasn't your idea? Robert Cooper's face gradually turned pale. I sneered. I'm openly giving the position of Mrs. Cooper to Sarah Miller now. What, you're not satisfied? Robert Cooper panicked. Maya, listen to me. Things aren't like that. I interrupted him. Enough. Robert Cooper, I feel nothing but disgust looking at you right now, every single second. If you want to make it up to me, then turn yourself in. Do I really need to handle something like marriage fraud? Robert Cooper's grip on my hand finally loosened. I didn't want to look at him anymore and turned to leave. After that day, Robert Cooper never came to find me again. A week later, news came from home. Robert Cooper had turned himself in. In addition, he had sued Ethan Miller and Sarah Miller, taking them to court. He exposed the marriage fraud, the plot to cause death, and other matters. The 3 of them turned on each other in court and were all sentenced to prison. The Cooper Group and Miller Corporation both declared bankruptcy. From then on, these 3 people completely disappeared from my life. End.